Have you ever felt like you're stuck, working really hard, but just not getting ahead financially in that rat race?
Yeah, it's a feeling a lot of people recognize, or wondering why someone super smart, maybe with advanced degrees, still seems to struggle with money.
Exactly. It doesn't always add up according to, well, conventional wisdom.
Right. And that's often because, as Kiyosaki argues, the real rules of money aren't taught in schools.
Which brings us to today's deep dive. We are getting into Robert Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It really did change the conversation for millions about money and wealth.
Definitely. And we're pulling directly from the book's core ideas,
Mhm.
trying to, dig into the insights that maybe get overlooked, even if you've heard the basics before.
Yeah, our goal here is to give you a kind of shortcut to understand those key nuggets of financial thinking that Kiyosaki says the rich teach their kids, but often get missed elsewhere. So get ready. This might challenge some things you thought you knew.
It's definitely designed to shift perspectives. Hashtag, two dads, two divergent paths to financial thinking.
Okay, so the whole basis of this book, it comes from Kiyosaki's really unique childhood, doesn't it? He had these two dads.
Right. His biological father, his poor dad, highly educated, government job, very traditional view.
Hmm.
And then his best friend Mike's dad, his rich dad, who, well, he didn't even finish 8th grade, but was incredibly financially savvy.
That contrast must have been something. How did that shape him beyond just the education difference?
Well, Kiyosaki says it basically forced him to think for himself. He wasn't just getting one set of instructions. He had these two strong, conflicting viewpoints.
So he had to compare them.
Constantly. Compare, contrast, question. And he argues that process of figuring things out for himself was way more valuable than just accepting one side, even the highly educated side. It built critical thinking about money early on.
And the actual beliefs were just poles apart. Poor dad saying things like, the love of money is the root of all evil.
While Rich Dad flips it completely, the lack of money is the root of all evil. That alone tells you so much.
It really does. It shows how deep these money beliefs run.
Totally. And think about how they talked about affordability. Poor dad. I can't afford it. End of story. Brain switches off.
Right, conversation over.
But Rich Dad insisted on asking, okay, how can I afford it? Which forces your brain to start problem solving, to get creative. He called it exercising the mind.
That's a powerful shift. What about taxes? That was another area of difference.
Huge difference. Poor dad felt the rich should pay more, fairness, social responsibility. Rich dad saw taxes differently, more like they punish people who produce things or created wealth.
And the career advice, too. Poor dad. Study hard, find a good company to work for.
Standard advice, but rich dad. Study hard so you can find a good company to buy. Completely different mindset. Owning versus working.
Even home ownership, which most people see as the cornerstone of wealth.
Diametrically opposed views there too. Poor dad saw his house as his biggest asset, his main investment. Rich dad was adamant, my house is a liability.
Okay, wait. That's the one that always throws people. How does he justify saying your house is a liability?
His definition is super simple. An asset puts money in your pocket. A liability takes money out.
Okay.
So for most people, their main home, constantly takes money out. Mortgage payments, property taxes, insurance, repairs, utilities. It's a constant drain.
Even if the value goes up over time.
Yeah, because that appreciation isn't cash flow now. It costs you money every single month to keep it.
Hmm.
He argues that money could be working for you elsewhere, in something that actually generates income. The tax deduction on interest. He says it doesn't really offset the total cost.
Okay. That's definitely counterintuitive, but I see the logic by his definition.
And finally, poor dad believed in job security, relying on the company, the government pension.
The safety net.
Whereas rich dad was all about total financial self-reliance.
Yeah.
Taking control of yourself.
So this massive contrast, it points to what Kiyosaki calls the financial education gap.
Right.
Right?
Exactly. He says money smarts are learned mostly at home, not school, which is why you see doctors, lawyers, people with great academic skills still struggling financially. Schools teach you how to work for money, he argues, not how to make money work for you.
Okay, so knowing these different mindsets, how did Rich Dad actually teach Robert and Mike? It wasn't exactly classroom lectures, was it?
No, definitely not. It was all experience. His first lesson actually started with them trying to make counterfeit nickels out of lead.
Huh. Seriously, like illegal business 101.
Pretty much. But what's interesting is Rich Dad's reaction. He didn't just shut them down. He actually praised their initiative, their thinking outside the box. He said, You're only poor if you give up. The main thing is you did something. He saw the spark.
Okay, that's surprising. So what happened next?
He offered them a job, working in one of his stores for 10 cents an hour.
10 cents. Even back then, that must have been tiny.
Exactly. And that was the point. He wanted them to get mad, bored, frustrated. He paid them just enough to make them feel exploited.
Why would he do that? Seems kind of harsh.
He wanted them to feel the rat race firsthand. That cycle where fear of not having enough money makes you work. Then greed, wanting more stuff, makes you spend more, so you need more money, so you work harder.
And you're just running faster on the same wheel.
Precisely. Stuck. He wanted them to feel that trap, that desperation, so they start questioning the whole system, not just ask for a raise.
Ah, I see. So it ties into his point about emotions controlling financial decisions.
Absolutely. He taught them that fear and greed are powerful, but they can cloud your thinking.
Hmm.
You need to acknowledge the emotion, be honest about it, but then use your brain. Choose to think, analyze. Instead of just reacting like, I need more money or I can't afford it, ask, how can I make this work? How can I afford it?
So how did they break out? Did they just quit the 10-cent job?
Well, they did quit working for money, but not before they had their breakthrough. Rich Dad made them work for free for a bit.
For free. Okay, now they must have been really mad.
They were. And that apparently was the key. Working for nothing forced them to really open their eyes and look for opportunities to use their financial genius, as Rich Dad called it.
And what did they find?
They noticed the store manager tearing the covers off old comic books and throwing the rest away. They asked the distributor if they could have the discarded comics.
Okay. Old comics?
Yeah. They realized these comics, even without covers, still had value to kids, so they started a comic book library in Mike's basement.
A library? How did that work?
Simple. They charged other kids 10 cents admission to come in and read as many comics as they wanted for a couple of hours.
Brilliant.
And get this, they even hired Mike's younger sister to run it, paying her $1 a week.
So they created a business.
Where money was working for them. Even when they weren't physically there, the library was making money. They weren't trading their time directly for pennies anymore. That was the huge lesson.
Okay, so that leads us to maybe the most famous rule from the book. Rule number 1. You must know the difference between an asset and a liability and buy assets.
Sounds simple, right?
Deceptively simple. He says, rich people acquire assets. The poor and middle class acquire liabilities that they think are assets. Why do so many people get this wrong?
I think it's because, well, the way we're taught about money often muddies the water. We're trained to be employees, maybe consumers, but not really investors. So Kiyosaki just cuts through it. His definition is incredibly direct.
Which is?
An asset puts money in my pocket. A liability takes money out of my pocket. Full stop. That's it.
Okay. So it's all about cash flow direction.
Exactly. It's not about net worth on paper necessarily, or what an accountant might traditionally call an asset. It's about, does it generate income for you, or does it cost you money? People get confused because they're attached to things, or they believe what society tells them is an asset, like the house we talked about.
Right. So let's break down those cash flow patterns he describes. For a poor person,
Income comes in from a job, maybe government support, and it goes straight out again. Rent, food, transport, clothes. Nothing left to buy assets.
okay, and the middle class.
Income comes in, usually a higher salary. But it also goes out to expenses and liabilities. Things like the mortgage, car payments, credit card debt, student loans.
Who has to take money out every month?
Right. They might have a nicer house, a newer car, but their income statement and balance sheet show money flowing out to pay for these things. Often, their income just barely covers their outgoings. They're trapped in that rat race, even with a good salary.
But the rich person's pattern is different.
Totally. Their income primarily comes from their assets, things like rental properties, stock dividends, bond interest, business profits, royalties.
Stuff that puts money in your pocket.
Exactly. That income then covers their expenses, and crucially, the surplus is reinvested back into buying more assets.
Ah, so the asset column just keeps growing.
It compounds, it generates more income, which buys more assets, which generate even more income. It's a virtuous cycle. That's the engine of wealth building, according to Kiyosaki.
Which ties into his advice to mind your own business. He doesn't mean quit your day job necessarily, right?
No, not at all, especially at first. Keep your job to pay the bills, but focus your free time, your energy, your extra cash on building your asset column. That's your real business.
Buying things that generate income.
Yeah. He says every dollar you put into an asset is like hiring a great employee. It works for you 24/7, doesn't complain, doesn't take holidays, and can potentially work for generations. It's about building those passive income streams.
Kiyosaki also talks about how the rich use certain structures to their advantage, and interestingly, he ties it back to the history of taxes, that whole Robin Hood idea.
Yeah, it's a really interesting take. He points out that income tax, both in the UK and the US, was initially only supposed to be for the rich.
Right. People voted for it thinking it wouldn't affect them.
Exactly. But government appetite for money, well, it tends to grow. So taxes gradually spread to the middle class and then down further until almost everyone was paying income tax. The take from the rich idea ended up hitting everyone else pretty hard.
But Kiyosaki argues the rich didn't just sit there and take it.
No, they adapted. They started using corporations much more strategically.
Yeah.
And he emphasizes a corporation isn't necessarily a big building with a logo. It can just be, a legal structure, a file folder with some documents.
Okay, so how does this file folder give them an advantage?
Two main ways: taxes and protection. Tax-wise, the big difference is when expenses are paid relative to taxes.
How so?
As an employee, you earn money, pay income tax on it, and then spend what's left. A corporation, however, earns money, spends money on legitimate business expenses, and then pays taxes on whatever profit is left over.
Ah, so they can deduct expenses before the tax man takes his cut.
Precisely. Things like cars, travel, meals, health insurance premiums, if they're legitimate business expenses, can potentially be paid with pre-tax dollars through the corporation. That's a massive advantage.
And the protection part.
Corporations provide a legal shield. If the business gets sued, generally, the owner's personal assets, their house, their savings are protected. The lawsuit is against the corporation, not the individual. The rich can control assets through the corporation without personally owning them, adding layers of protection.
Okay, so using these structures effectively requires a certain skill set. This is where his concept of financial IQ comes in.
Exactly. He breaks it down into 4 key areas.
Mm.
First is accounting.
Financial literacy, reading the numbers.
Right. Understanding financial statements, cash flow, balance sheets. If you can't read the numbers, you're flying blind.
Second,
Investing. He calls it the science of making money. It's not just buying stocks. It's about strategy, creativity, understanding risk and reward.
okay. Third pillar.
Understanding markets, knowing about supply and demand, why things go up or down. This includes both the technical side, like market sentiment, chart patterns, maybe more emotion-driven stuff, and the fundamental side, the actual economics, a company's health, industry trends.
Got it. And the fourth.
The law. Understanding those tax advantages we talked about, corporate structures, legal protections. Knowing the rules of the game allows you to play it more effectively.
And he says it's the combination, the synergy of these 4 skills that really matters.
Yeah. Having just 1 or 2 isn't enough for explosive growth. But when you combine financial literacy, investment strategy, market understanding, and legal knowledge, that's when, as he puts it, you can go from walking financially to really flying. #V, inventing money and overcoming obstacles to wealth. And then Kiyosaki introduces this really provocative idea. The rich don't just earn money, they often invent it.
Invent money. What does that actually mean?
It means that true financial genius isn't just about having knowledge. It requires boldness, creativity, courage. Especially now, in the information age. He argues wealth isn't just tied to physical things. It's often in information, in seeing an opportunity and structuring a deal where others just see problems.
So financial intelligence isn't just knowing stuff. It's about creating options.
Exactly. Having multiple ways to solve a financial problem, rather than the default settings of just work harder, save more, or borrow money. He says, luck is created just as money is. You make your own luck by being prepared, educated, and bold enough to act.
Does he give an example of this inventing money?
Yeah, a really powerful personal one. Back in the early 90s, the Phoenix real estate market crashed. Foreclosed houses were selling dirt cheap.
Okay, sounds like an opportunity.
Right. He found houses listed for, say, $75,000 that he could buy for $20,000 at foreclosure auctions. But he didn't have $20,000 lying around for each one.
So how did he do it?
He'd put down a small deposit, maybe borrowed. Then almost immediately he'd advertise the same house for sale for, say, $60,000. But, and this is key, with no money down for the buyer.
No money down. How does that work for him?
He structured the deal using a promissory note. The buyer promises to pay him the $60,000 over time with interest, say, 10%. That note, that promise to pay, became Kiyosaki's asset.
Ah, so he didn't need his own cash. He created an asset out of the deal itself.
Exactly. The note started generating income for him immediately, like $4,000 a year per deal in his example. Much of it sheltered from immediate taxes because it was inside his corporation. He did this multiple times, 6 deals in his spare time, he says, creating $190,000 in assets, generating about $19,000 a year. That's inventing money, using financial intelligence to create cash flow from basically nothing up front.
Wow. Okay, that really illustrates the concept. But even if you understand this, he says there are obstacles, right? Things that stop people.
Yes, 5 main ones. First, and maybe biggest, is fear. Specifically, the fear of losing money.
People are so afraid of losing that they lose.
Right. They avoid any kind of risk, so they miss all the potential rewards. He stresses that winning usually involves some losing along the way. You learn from mistakes. Think of learning to ride a bike you fall. He uses remember the Alamo analogy, turn failures into learning points, rallying cries, or Colonel Sanders getting rejected over 1,000 times. You need
Yes.
resilience.
Okay, fear. What's number 2?
Cynicism. The chicken little syndrome. People who constantly shoot down ideas focus on why something won't work. They're filled with doubt, influenced by negative news or cautious friends.
The what if it all goes wrong crowd.
Exactly. Whereas savvy investors often see opportunity when everyone else is panicking. Kiyosaki also hits on common cynical excuses, like saying about real estate, oh, I don't want to fix toilets.
Yeah, I've heard that one.
He calls that a limiting belief. Focusing on a minor potential hassle blinds you to a powerful wealth-building tool. Don't let the tail wag the dog.
Makes sense. Obstacle 3.
Laziness. And this isn't usually about sitting on the couch all day. It's often mental laziness, being too busy doing other things to actually focus on your financial well-being or learn something new.
Like defaulting to, I can't afford it.
Yes, that's mental laziness because it stops thought. Rich Dad's, how can I afford it? Forces mental effort, opens up possibilities. Laziness is avoiding the hard thinking required to improve your situation.
Okay. Number 4.
Bad habits. And the most critical bad habit financially, not paying yourself first.
Okay, explain that. Pay yourself before the bills. How does that work? Sounds stressful.
It is stressful initially. That's the point. You allocate money to your asset column savings, investments the moment you get paid, before you pay rent, utilities, credit cards.
But what if there isn't enough left for the bills?
That pressure, Kiyosaki argues, forces you to become smarter. It makes you find ways to generate more income or cut unnecessary expenses. It builds financial discipline. The pressure from creditors becomes a motivator, not just a source of fear. And obviously, avoid racking up consumer debt in the first place.
Right. Use the pressure constructively. Okay. And the final obstacle.
Arrogance. Thinking you know it all, or that what I don't know isn't important.
Ah, the opposite of being willing to learn.
Exactly. Arrogance is often a cover for ignorance. Truly smart people, financially or otherwise, are usually humble. They listen, they ask questions, they're open to new ideas, even from people they might disagree with. You can't grow if you think you've already arrived. #tag Mary Wime. Practical steps and the path to financial freedom.
Okay, so we've covered the mindset, the rules, the obstacles. What about actual practical steps? What does Kiyosaki say people should actually do?
He lays out several to-dos. The first one is maybe the hardest. If what you're currently doing isn't working, stop doing it.
Take a breath, assess.
Yeah. Don't just keep digging the same hole deeper. Step back and actively look for new ideas, new approaches.
Okay, what else?
Find mentors, people who've already done what you want to do. Learn from them, ask questions, and closely related, invest in your education. Take courses, read books, go to seminars. He talks about a $385 seminar that ended up making him millions because of what he learned and the connections he made.
So education is key. Any specific actions, say in investing?
For real estate especially, he says, make lots of offers. Treat it like a numbers game. You don't know what someone will accept until you ask. Make offers, even low ones, but always include escape clauses so you can back out if needed.
Don't be afraid to negotiate.
Right. And shop for bargains. Look for deals when markets are down, when things are on sale. That's when the real money is made, he says. Profit is made when you buy, not when you sell.
Buy low, sell high, the classic advice, but applied proactively.
Exactly. And look at the right places. Deals aren't always found through mainstream channels. Think foreclosure auctions, tax land sales, networking, and think big. Even if you start small, think about leverage, scaling up, building connections.
And finally,
learn from history. See how small beginnings can lead to huge outcomes. Understand market cycles. History provides context and lessons.
So tying it all together, the ultimate goal is financial freedom. How does he define that endpoint?
It boils down to converting your earned income, from a job into passive income from assets like real estate or businesses you don't actively run, and or portfolio income from paper assets like stocks and bonds.
Why is that the key?
Because passive and portfolio income are generally taxed at lower rates than earned income, and, more importantly, they provide time freedom. Your money is working for you,
Yeah.
generating income whether you show up to work or not. That's true freedom.
And he created that CASHFLOW game to help people practice this.
Yes, it's an experiential learning tool. It lets you simulate buying assets, managing cash flow, dealing with market changes, all with play money. You can make mistakes and learn without real financial consequences.
So it's like a flight simulator for finance.
That's a great analogy. It helps build the financial muscles and mindset needed for the real world. He strongly believed in learning by doing.
Ultimately, then, this isn't just about getting rich for the sake of it.
No, not according to him. It's about having the freedom and resources to choose your own path in life, to pursue work you love, or spend time on things that matter to you rather than being trapped by financial necessity. It's about funding your dreams, whatever they may be, and requires continuous growth mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. It's a holistic view of a richer life. Hashtag tag outro.
So wrapping up our deep dive on Rich Dad, Poor Dad, that core message really stands out, doesn't it? It's less about just working hard and more about developing your financial intelligence.
Absolutely, making that fundamental shift from being an employee of money to being a master of money. Having your money work hard for you.
And Kiyosaki leaves us with a really powerful thought, something to chew on. Great opportunities are not seen with your eyes. They are seen with your mind.
Makes you wonder, doesn't it?
It really does. How many potentially life-changing opportunities might drift past us simply because we haven't trained our minds to recognize them financially? So maybe the question for you listening is, what's one small step you could take this week to start sharpening that financial vision? Maybe pick up a book, listen to a podcast, or even just start looking at your own finances through that exit liability lens.
Just starting to think differently can open up a lot of doors.